Alright, so when I say slab facts, what I mean is things that you should know about Slab City before you go, and basically some things that I found out while I was there. So I just spent 3.5 weeks in Slab City. This is a place that I never thought I would go because I had a lot of preconceived perceptions about Slab City. And what I had been told was that it was a dangerous place to go. It was a land with no laws, kind of like forgotten, somewhere in Southern California. So I had been told that it was essentially a land for lost souls that was ungoverned and pretty dangerous because of that reason. So I went to Slab City because a couple of my friends from the RTR go there every year after the RTR, and they hang out and try to be productive, or I don't know, they go there after the RTR. And I went to Sedona directly after the RTR because I needed a social break. I didn't want to be around people for a little while, so I went to Sedona. And then after Sedona, as you know, I came to Slab City. I'm filming this video while on break from Slab City. I was there for 3.5 weeks. I needed a social break again, so now I am elsewhere camping alone, and I'm just gonna try to be productive during this time. So a lot of people have made videos about Slab City, little documentaries on Slab City, and I don't know, a good amount of people seem to know about Slab City, but a lot of those people have never had an actual experience there. So I kind of want to make this video to talk about my experience there, not do it in like a documentary form so that you can actually get like a real person's experience. And I guess this perspective might be a little different because I know like Paul Barger, my friend, who I initially went to Slab City to see, he makes videos on Slab City as well, but of course everyone's perception is going to be different. His perception as a, you know, big burly guy is going to be really different than mine. And yeah, so we'll just talk about that. So Slab City facts, number one, there's a lot of terrible perceptions about Slab City. There's a lot of information out there that has given people reason to believe that it is not a good place to go, that is a very dangerous, lawless place. And while I do agree that it is not for everybody, and that yes, it can be dangerous, and no, there really aren't a lot of enforced laws there, I'm fine, I'm alive, and I didn't really experience anything like truly terrifying. So slab facts number two, we'll just go over the history of Slab City. How did it get here? So from what I've been told, Slab City was a military playground, kind of like a base where they, you know, tested different weaponry, and like a lot of military personnel lived there. So the reason that they call it Slab City is because there are still concrete slabs in the ground where people camp on, and they're everywhere all over Slab City. That military base is no longer being used at all. It was kind of just like abandoned. It was taken over by people who needed a place to go. So they've built an entire community on these abandoned slabs from this ex-military base, and that is how it got its name, Slab City. So now I want to get into like the general, one of the first things that you'll notice about Slab City if you go, and these are boundaries. So essentially the rule is that if you see a piece of land that is unoccupied and doesn't have a boundary around it, then you can go occupy that land and then build your own little boundary, and then people will kind of respect that fence, that boundary, and they won't really go in it or camp there or mess with your stuff. So essentially what we did in Spaceport 42, which was the name of our camp in Slab City, was we took like old car parts and TVs and basically just rusted metal and garbage and lined our slab with it to create a fence or a boundary. Just some type of visual representation of the fact that that slab was being occupied. And because we did that, people didn't come and try to camp in our slab. Even if there was extra space, they knew that that slab was occupied, and no one tried to pull their rig up in it. if for some reason someone did do that, we would have every right to tell them to leave. So if you ever go to Slab City, you know, just remember that like there are streets and they are dirt roads, but they are roads and they are in a grid pattern. And just if you're walking through Slab City, just stay on the roads. It's kind of like anywhere. You wouldn't walk through someone's yard in a neighborhood, you'd stay on the road. And just like that in Slab City, if there's a boundary there, don't walk through it. It is basically someone's yard, so just use the roads. So there are exceptions, you know, like rules are broken. Things are not like heavily enforced there, but you know, there's some unspoken rules like that. However, we did have a couple experiences where at nighttime and sometimes even during the day, not really during the day, but mostly at nighttime, like on like the weekends, like where everyone was like partying and stuff, we would be in our lot, we'd have like a bonfire and we'd all be hanging out and stuff. And every once in a while, some intoxicated person might wander up into our boundary, into our camp, and either try to hang out with us or ask us directions. And we always greeted them really like nicely. We weren't like complete dicks to anybody, but we would, you know, show them the way out or show them where they were trying to find, whether or not it'd be like a different camp. Some people walked in and they just like totally had the wrong camp, and we just had to inform them, hey dude, the person that you're looking for is not at this camp, you have the wrong camp. So, you know, continue on. So in no way am I about to talk shit about the people that live in Slab City, but I do want to talk about them a little bit. The people in Slab City come from so many different walks of life. I mean, it's really interesting. There's a lot of veterans there. There's a lot of younger people there. There's a lot of travelers there. There's even some like kids there, like kids. And it's really interesting how they all kind of live in a community that doesn't have any type of like governing system. The governing system is basically like respect. And it's kind of weird because then you kind of have to rely on other people to have respect for your things and your stuff as well. And they'll rely on you to be equally as respectful. Although it's hard to say why anyone would end up in Slab City, like I was there for almost a month completely by choice. I have the means to be in other places, but one of my goals for February was to see if I could camp out for an entire month without spending any money on campgrounds. And I knew that I could do that in Slab City because on a lot of BLM land, you have a 14-day limit, and I wanted to stay in one place for as long as possible. So I went to Slab City to see my friends and to also, you know, kind of go through with this goal that I had to not spend any money. So there are definitely people that are in Slab City by choice, but there are definitely people that fell on hard times and are in Slab City not quite by choice. But people are people, and these types of people exist everywhere. If you go to any city, you will find people that are just like slabbers. I mean, whether or not they're are homeless people or whether or not they're like business-minded people, all of those people exist in Slab City. There are people that fell on hard times and maybe have addiction issues with alcohol or drugs. There are people that are very business-minded and clean and sober that have set up little businesses there. There are veterans, there are mothers, there are fathers. There are a lot of different types of people in Slab City, so you can't look at Slab City as a whole and say, oh, that's just a bunch of fucked up drug addicts who will steal your shit, because it's not true. Although there are those types of people there as well, that exists everywhere. So that's the thing to be aware of, is that like don't make assumptions about the people that are there, but also like treat it like you would if you were in some city that you didn't know. Like you wouldn't leave out valuable things on a street in a city because you'd assume that someone would take them. Same goes for Slab City. Probably don't leave your generators out at night, like not hooked up or anything. Someone's probably gonna take it. What's also funny is the types of things that people want to take, it's kind of interesting as well. So for example, in our camp, Spaceport 42, it was a lot in Slab City, kind of like prime real estate, like in the center of Slab City. And the previous people that stayed there, I don't know what happened, but basically the entire lot caught fire. Their trailer caught fire. Everything caught fire. And after it was destroyed, they just up and left it. So we ended up trying to clean that lot. We removed the trailer. We cut everything apart. We raked the ground. We went through it with magnets and got up all the like nails and rusty bits and everything. We dug holes. We buried ashes. There is not any type of like trash man that comes into Slab City to take trash away. So what you have to do with your trash is like, I don't know, a lot of people would think that it's not the right thing to do, that it's totally terrible, because there are a lot of trash fires there, which we all know is not good for the environment, but it's either you burn your trash or you leave it out. So it's either going to, you know, go into the ground and be trash in the ground, or you're going to burn it and there's not going to be trash on the ground, and these people are going to like have space to live that isn't like full of trash. All the ashes that were on the ground, we dug like a 6-foot hole and we buried them, because there's nowhere else to put it. There's nothing else we could have done. So we cleaned the lot as best as we could. All the metal that we didn't want to bury, like we didn't bury any metal, but like all the metal that came off of the trailer and the car and stuff like that, we put into piles. And people would actually come bring carts up and take pieces of the metal that we thought of was as trash. They would come and take it because they were either building like a staircase or some type of art or some type of house. So people will come and take your garbage and make something out of it. People in Slab City are like incredibly innovative, honestly. I was surprised at a lot of the structures that they built for housing. I mean, it really was impressive. And what we ended up doing with our trailer bed that had burned, so there was no trailer left on it, but it was just the metal frame, we turned it up on its side, concreted it down into the ground with bags of concrete, and then put sheet metal, like rusted sheet metal from something else, attached it to it, and then we painted our Spaceport 42 sign with that, which I believe I have a picture of, and I will show that here. So yeah, basically, don't make assumptions about the people there. They are not all the same, but also like use common sense, you know, don't leave valuable things out. They'll probably get stolen. Number 5. All right, so that piece of land is no longer used by military. However, there is a military base like touching Slab City. So the first night I got there, I saw tracer rounds going off into the night. You will hear bombs, and those bombs will rock your rig and shake the ground. You will hear pretty consistent gunfire, like 50 caliber rounds being fired throughout the night most days. There are also military aircraft flying above. There are planes and helicopters almost on a daily basis. The helicopters do fly kind of low, so be aware that that kind of noise is constant. There is constant weaponry testing nearby, and so it makes it a little difficult sometimes to distinguish whether or not there is like an actual threat to you nearby, because you can't really tell if the bomb is coming from within the slabs or outside the slabs, or if gunshots are coming from within the slabs or outside the slabs. Obviously, you can tell if they are like really close to you. Like we heard some 50 caliber rounds pretty close to us, so we knew that that was in the slabs. And also there were a couple explosions that came from within the slabs as well that we knew were going on. They were blowing up a car one night in Carhenge, and it was actually a limousine they were blowing up and setting fire to. So there are a couple like loud explosions from within the slabs as well, and gunshots within the slabs. But be aware that there are military weaponry rounds being fired off all the time in the distance, never in the direction of Slab City. So the people there are safe from that type of weaponry, but it is a all around. Number 6 is that there is actually a lot to do in Slab City. There are some really cool art installations and other really cool places that you can go, including hostels and Airbnbs. I am probably going to make an entirely different video on the things to do in Slab City for fun, so just know that that's coming. This is kind of more of a things you should know before you go, and then I'll also give you a things to do when you go. So yeah, there are actually fun things to do in Slab City. Number 7 is, I have it written down on my list as trash and architecture, which I kind of covered before. Like I said, there is nowhere to put your garbage, so a lot of people burn it, and things that can't be burned are generally repurposed into either making one of the boundaries that I talked about, the fences, or like I said, a staircase or a house even that people live in. So that's a thing. Number 8, as far as camping goes. All right, so if you were to pull into Slab City with your rig, what I would recommend doing is going to the Lowe's, which basically when you come into Slab City, there's only one road in. Actually, that's not true. There's a couple roads in, but there's only one road that like you're going to take in off of your GPS. So you're going to go into Slab City from the west, actually. And even if you're coming, like we came from Arizona from the east, and they take you down south up and you enter Slab City through the west. So when you come in through the west, you are going to take a right eventually on Low Road, and you're going to go a couple of blocks, and basically anything on the right side, you are going down Low Road, anything on the right, you can camp in. Those are the places that like the non-locals go off of the Lowe's. Basically everyone that comes from the RTR goes and camps in the Lowe's. And it's called the Lowe's because it's off of Low Road. You will be fine there. You can camp there. I don't know if I would recommend going completely alone. I would maybe have like at least one other like rig that you're traveling with. And then you're free to camp there. Like I said, the Lowe's are kind of where the locals aren't. They don't set up a home base there. Not that it's like shitty land or anything, because it's great land, but yeah, it's just not really where the locals are. Also be aware that there are no hookups, so no, there's no sewer. There's also no electricity and no water anywhere in the slabs. So there is not a place that you can go get water in the slabs. You would have, a lot of people have those big 300-gallon plastic tubs that they take in and get filled. I think someone also comes through with a truck if you call them, and they will fill your tanks for you. They're about 300 gallons. Yeah, so either come in with water in your fresh water tank or whatever, but just be aware that there's not water there. Also, there is a corner store in Nyland, about 2 miles outside of Slab City, that you can go and refill all your jugs and stuff, so that's there as well. I think it's $1 for 5 gallons, no, maybe $2 for 5 gallons. I'm not 100% sure, but there's no water in Slab City. There's also no electricity, so a lot of people have solar. I actually got some solar while I was in Slab City because there is a solar dealer in Slab City. His name is Solar Mike. He has a website called thesunworks.com. Throwing that bit of information in there. That part is not sponsored whatsoever. As far as dumping your tanks and like going to the bathroom, most people have composting toilets there. Because I have a self-contained rig and I have a gray and black water tank, obviously I just used that. And then I went to a campground about 2 weeks in, like 15 minutes down the road, and I paid for a night there to dump my tanks and yeah, get some electricity for a day. Number 9 is nearby cities. So the closest little town to Slab City is called Nyland. It's pretty much a nothing town. There is a little recycling center, some houses, and a corner store. The corner store has food and alcohol. The food is really expensive. The alcohol is not. The next town down from that is called Calipatria, which I did not visit. It's very similar to Nyland, but it has a little bit more as far as like grocery places and gas stations go. And then the biggest town nearby is called Brawley, and that has everything that you need. It's about a 30-minute drive from Slab City, and it has a Walmart Supercenter and everything else that you would need there. Number 10 would be rules and what you can do. Basically, anything goes in Slab City. No one is really there to enforce what you can and cannot do. So if you want to blow up a limousine, you can do that. If you want to set fire to a structure that you built, you can do that. If you want to party, you can do that. If you want to set up a business, you can do that. Basically, anything that you want to do, you can do in Slab City. No one's going to really tell you not to. Be as ridiculous as you want to be. If you want to dig up some clay from the ground, make structures, and then like make little ceramic structures out of them, kiln them on your own fire, and then destroy them, you can. If you want to make a Molotov cocktail, apparently you can do that, and no one's gonna tell you not to. I did see a policeman roll through Slab City several times, and I did see the cops get called one night while I was there, but they basically roll in, drive around, and roll out. I don't know. Apparently the night that they got called that I watched happen down the road was for a domestic abuse situation. They just came in, said cut that shit out, I guess, and then left. I don't know. And then number 11, this is like my last one, and I didn't want to have an 11th one, but I just thought of it, so because it's definitely worth noting. The Slab Dogs. Okay, so all the dogs in Slab City are off leash. Banks wasn't on a leash. No one has their dog on a leash in Slab City. That being said, Slab Dogs will roll into your camp. They will go through your trash. They will destroy your shit. They will fight your dog. I don't know. Like, if they feel inclined, that's what they'll do. And they will even fight you. So while you are walking in Slab City, it is best that you take some type of stick with you so that you can just kind of poke them off if they start bothering you, and just, you know, kind of keep an eye on your dog as well. Like, keep your dog supervised. Even though Banks was off leash, I didn't let her out of my sight, and yeah, we didn't really have any problems. But just be aware that the Slab Dogs are there. They will beg for your food. They will come and get your food. They will try to talk to your dog. They will go through your trash, and they might even try to like bite you if you're walking alone at night. So just bring a stick with you. That right there are the top, I guess, 11 things that I think you should know before you go to Slab City. I know a little bit of this was like long-winded, but I just wanted to like get across what I noted while I was there. And so if any of you ever want to go to Slab City, all in all, I think it is a really cool experience. I'm really glad that I went. I have zero regrets, and I will definitely go again one day in life. But before I came to Slab City, I was really, really nervous, and I think that if I had seen a video like this, maybe I would have been a little bit more prepared. Navigating Slab City is not hard to do. It's really, really small. It is set up like streets, like in a grid pattern, so it's really not that bad. The people are not that bad. The dogs are not that bad. Everything is not that bad. You just have to, but I'm not going to say that any of it is like great. You feel me? So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. I would appreciate it, because I didn't go to Slab City for nothing. I'm not making these videos for nothing. I really want you guys to enjoy it. Live vicariously through my videos if you don't think that you'll ever be able to go to any of the places that I go to. And yeah, I hope that you get some useful information out of this. So give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'm going to places that are a little bit sketchy and sometimes really cool, so that you don't have to, or that you like know the rundown before you go. So subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. It means a whole lot to me. We'll see you guys in the next video, which is the top 10 things to actually do in Slab City that are cool as shit. So see you there.